Hi everyone and welcome back to Artful. In this week's tutorial we'll be using our inks and I'll be showing you how to paint the undisputed king of the jungle, the gorilla. No, it's not the lion, they don't live in the jungle. So get your inks, your paintbrushes and we'll get started. To begin with, I'm taking a paintbrush that I've dipped in the black ink and put a bit of water on it so it's this light grey to draw the outline of the gorilla. Now you can do this with a water brush, but I prefer the finer point of the paintbrush. The gorilla that I'm painting is hunched over on all fours, so it's walking on its arms. And when you're drawing the gorilla, try and consider its low centre of gravity and just how muscular they are. You know, a gorilla is made up of pure muscle. They're absolutely massive. I saw a poll online that says there's quite an alarming amount of people who think they could beat a gorilla in a fight, but just look at the size of its arms. That thing is absolutely terrifying. I don't think I could even win a staring contest with one. I'm adding a lot more black ink onto my brush and adding in the darker shadows of the gorilla. You can also use the side of your brush and a bit more water to make a nice wash. And the reason I'm doing this wash is because I want a nice consistent flat colour that I will paint over again with more fur textures once that initial layer is dry. Adding a bit of water to your brush, you get this nice light grey instead of the darker black, and using that tone you can start to paint in the areas of the gorilla where the light is hitting its fur. Adding a bit more ink and using the fine point of the brush, now you can start to add the facial details of the gorilla. So consider the furrowed brow, it's almost like a unibrow, the darkness around the eyes, and the almost rounded maw. I painted this quite graphically, i.e. with a lot of dark lines, but I will go back in and fill this in later with a bit more shadow once that initial layer is dry. Once again, adding a bit more water to your brush, you get that nice grey. So I'm using that grey colour to add a bit more of the light fur texturing around the gorilla's head. Using a bit more black ink, I can now paint on top of the wash I've already made. And this is one of my favourite bits, adding that texture of the gorilla's coarse fur. You can also use that dark line to add some extra detail to the body, such as the outline of muscles. A lot of artwork is about layering up and blending your tones together. So we have this very light fur on the outside of the body and some very dark fur on the areas of shadow. So it's just about trying to blend those colours together so it looks a bit more natural. And you can really do this by experimenting, just adding a bit more ink or adding a bit more water, just as you see fit. I'd recommend drawing from reference. The internet is awash with photos of different gorillas, just so you can start to understand their posture, their body shape, and just where light hits it. I reckon most of you don't have a gorilla to hand to draw in your lighter ink setup, so those of you who don't live near a zoo, it is better to draw from a photograph just so you don't have to guess where the light is hitting the animal. Those initial facial details that I painted are now dry, so I can start to add the shadow of the face. I've taken a tone that is a lot lighter than the black line that I painted those details with, because I don't want the shadow to obscure the details that I've already put down. The gorilla that I'm painting from has quite a furrowed brow, so I'm adding a lot of shadow underneath the eyes, and then adding more shadow around the face. Gorilla's faces are quite leathery and dark anyway, so it should be easy to try and blend this tone with the fur that you've already put down on the paper. And just as a final detail, I've drawn a light grey line underneath the gorilla and then dried my brush out so it has this nice dry brush shadow. This is just to avoid the gorilla looking like it's in a snowstorm, which, considering the hot climates they usually live in, would be a bit worrying if it found itself there. And there we are, there's our finished gorilla. This took me around 20 minutes to paint, and I use one paintbrush and one colour. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial showing you how to paint one of our closest evolutionary ancestors. Now, I don't want to see any nasty comments saying that I pretty much did a self-portrait, but what I do want to see is everyone have a go at painting their own gorillas. So please tag me on Instagram at Artful Box. I absolutely love to see everyone else's work. If you want to see some other videos, like and subscribe to our YouTube to see some of our earliest tutorials, and why not treat yourself and visit artful.co.uk. Thank you very much again for watching, and we'll be back again soon with a new video.